Skinwalker's 5 mine shafts of Freddy's was more disappointing than Jor-Karroc's Power Core Prog 7.1. It is often quite challenging to come up with solo adventures for players who want to not have any regular life like everyone else and just demand more content by proxy like that. So I didn't try. Let's dig into it, shall we? First of all, the concept of horror in a tabletop role-playing setting full of bright, colorful superheroes is very difficult to manage. Most often, the ironically easier way to go is for difficult psychological horror, introducing concepts and situations that bring dread and unease to the players. Balancing that against the amount of fun the people at the table are having can be quite challenging, and often is difficult to get right, or even not make look completely foolish.
I'm not ashamed of that trailer at all. I actually thought
It is therefore quite often possible that it's easier to make comedy horror, like Ghostbusters, or Kevin Feig's career. Unfortunately, when you have superpowers, doing the monsters trying to get the sexy teens horror is almost impossible unless you take the powers away. And then why are we even playing a superhero setting? Skinwalker has the ability to change into large semi-creature things and inherit their power. So trapping him in a mine with semi-creature humanized things isn't going to engender horror. Especially when they can't hurt him. When you can turn into sand at any given moment, the challenge rating for any given adventure is practically 0. So why bother? We were all tired, and we couldn't think properly in the night. Actually, that's probably close to the truth. We were all exhausted by the mentally taxing drain that the gamer's relationship with an unreasonably hot woman puts on us.
Yeah.
So trapping basically a human-style animal in a mine with other human-style animatronics, wasn't going to be a successful, threatening encounter for anyone. He was never going to have to go and get the team and investigate the serial killings. Number 2. Hero point scene editing. When the characters can just give up hero points to edit the scene as much as they want and have a large supply of hero points that they can share, because their characters are so fucked and they don't even know it, then any threat or reason or logic to the scene can be removed. Why was the bad guy storing all the harvested body parts in an open-top cave? I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't an open-top cave. First, he wanted a shaft. Then didn't like that his character as a means of flight had limits that would restrict its use in situations, which is why you take those flaws in the first place. But no, let's make the shaft 10 feet wide to accommodate his large wings. Let's also realize this is a comic book universe and physics doesn't necessarily apply here. We basically took physics out back into the shed and cut it up into little bits like we did around. I mean, our wife went missing and we don't know where she is. Number 3. The characters. Skinwalker's character is in touch with nature and rejects modern society. The exact kind of character you want to make in a city-based superhero campaign about preserving societal status quo and engaging in society. No one ever said Brendan was smart. Well, that character now has nothing to do, while everyone else is engaging in their city life. The Spider-Man dichotomy being played out to fullest and most gleeful effect. Instead, he wanders around. I'm following this person to protect them. It basically tacitly demanding private custom content that just they can engage in. Additional superheroing to earn XP, get experience, and be a full-time superhero. Not even Superman was the full-time superhero. He had to raise a son, put his dick in Lois Lane without killing her. He had to train a dog, put his dick in Lois Lane without killing her. He had to fly around space and patrol, put his dick in Lois Lane without killing her. He was even a reporter at the newspaper trying to put his dick in Lois Lane without killing her. And he still found time to invent a wondrous wish machine that just literally grants wishes. I'm not sure if that's canon or not, but it's stupid. So Skinwalker, great hero name by the way, flies around all the time. I'm on patrol. Give me content. I want combat content. Imagine if we rolled out the entirety of combat against thugs. He would be taking up the whole night away from the other players. Now I realize that the character motivations of every character have to be different, otherwise it gets boring, and it's perfectly reasonable in the context of a superhero team to have a character that doesn't necessarily conform to the regulation of society, but it's a little unfair on the other players when all you do is want to do more patrolling. At least when you were infiltrating the evil crime syndicate, you had things you could do during the day that were still related to crime fighting, that were infiltration, trying to sabotage the villain's goals, learning about the villain's goals, and also trying to help people who were being oppressed by the villain. Now you just fly around looking for purse snatchers. It's a step down, and the crowd aren't interested in it.
You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car.
So you need special, interesting, quirky adventures to keep things interesting for the other people at the table so they don't start chewing off their fingers just to escape like an elaborate saw trap.
Not that they're chained to their chairs. They're not chained there at all. They can leave at any time.
But everyone chooses to stay until I say they can go, of their own free will. So you have a step down in adventuring. The total number of possible adventures you can engage in from just going on superhero patrol all the time is minimal. It relates to purse snatchings, bank robberies, jewelry store heists, drug deals, and things that are in the open. You don't get any major quest hooks unless it's extremely contrived. So hence the mine adventure. Number whatever. I can't be bothered even keeping track. There's not much to say about this. The gag is well over. You get the gag. You had Mr. Plinkett in the episode talking about the Phantom Menace. The reference was to Red Letter Media. And by reference, we mean rip off. And here's this one, referencing that, for a quick chuckle from the audience. The joke is well over by now and hasn't been very funny to begin with. You didn't have time to properly write a script. You didn't have time to put all the proper jokes in. You're kinda just winging it for the most part, and it shows. You haven't even used the car crash sound effect, which you have to do, right? That's in every one, right? You gotta have the car crash sound effect, right, Ken?
Yeah, that stuff went everywhere, by the way, in every crack.
Anyway, number whatever. The stakes don't matter, and it was resolved because he was overpowered. The other problem with the creature that's actually a person who's a serial killer in the location killing the sexy teens. When you have a superpowered character, what can an ordinary person actually do to threaten you? Apart from beat you up very easily, then invade your home. It can't do anything. You pull out a gun, you turn into a buffalo, take the shots, and then just hit him, because you know hitting him once or twice is going to knock out a normal person. So you take the shot. It's highly unrealistic, but that's what superhero campaigns are supposed to be. And he can't just keep coming across threats that are comparable to his character. It's not reasonable. If there was that much crime on that level going on, wouldn't the National Guard be on the streets? Why aren't the crap everywhere? There'd be more than one Guardian robot walking around, and we haven't even seen one of those this season.
How can you be eating right now?
Want your pop?
So the only thing to do is try and trick them. And then they just feel a sense of unsatisfaction because they didn't save that one person, because they didn't realize that that one guy was a serial killer pretending to be normal. Most serial killers appear really normal, except when they're, killing and peeling people's faces off.
You good looking.
Then I imagine they're sort of like Nicolas Cage, or John Travolta pretending to be Nicolas Cage.
Not.
So the hero is in a situation that he can easily handle and has no real threat, and in fact is only going to be confusing in a way that makes the players feel unsatisfied. How are we supposed to know? That seems contrived. They all thought he was one of the animatronics because he looks like an animal. This isn't fair. How's he supposed to beat it? And so on. The end result is no one's particularly satisfied. So why would we leave the whole thing in there?
It was only 'cause I knew these girls were funny.
Why would Roland Emmerich make a sequel to Independence Day? For the money! Except I don't make any money from this. It actually cost me money to do it. You think these microphones grow on nipples? They don't. And finally, we reach the conclusion that we should just not have had the adventure. But then what's Skinwalker supposed to do? Everyone else is engaged in their exciting daytime lives, standing and talking, sitting and talking, walking a short distance while talking, getting embarrassed and flustered, awkwardly hugging between each other because we have no chemistry, being an uppity communist Russian who rejects communist Russianness, insulting our friends, agreeing blindly with our friends, playing video games with strangers, having super psychotic villains act really casually, but not knowing they're super psychotic villains, so the players get all antsy, but they're forced to make their characters do stupid things. I like that bit because then I can take their characters and put them in a device that stretches them apart.
Maybe the device is named Alice, and she can rip them apart and play around in their wrench.
I mean, then there's that unease you can have and engender a horror feeling. The attempted irony was that the actual horror setting was not supposed to be horrific, but supposed to be amusing. The character easily deals with the situations and moves through. There's no horror for him, but it's a horror setting that everyone can identify with. But earlier, they were having a fun time in a horror setting. There's a horrible creature there, and a supervillain, and an evil robot, and a reporter. They're the worst of all. The players are forced to have their character do normal things that could get them hurt or put them in a bad situation. But the characters don't know that that's a horror, that's a monster. That's Alice Cole. She ripped one of the DMV girls in half because she called her a bitch. She's clearly autistic or something. The players are all very nervous because there's so many elements that could go deeply wrong.
It was only 'cause I knew these girls were funny.
Maybe outing the characters, or hurting them in some way, or damaging their support network, causing them to lose family and friends. It's the whole point behind having an ordinary, boring life in this society, so that you can have stakes. The juxtaposition didn't work, however. Everyone at the table was too sleepy to realize what was going on. Even the game master was too sleepy to do the comedy horror part right. So he cut it. He cut it from the recording and put your XP in a screen you're not going to see. Yeah, it's in the last part. You should go get your XP. At the end of the day, it was a failed experiment. No one realized what was going on. The horror seeming part was laughable and seemed a bit stupid. Too much interruption from sleepy, oxygen-deprived people. who had just watched The Phantom Menace. It kinda shuts off part of your brain, even in reflex. It's a defense mechanism to stop you killing yourself, or walking out of the theater and leaving your girlfriend behind to get picked up by that greaser in the third row who's throwing popcorn at the screen. Because secretly you know he's better looking than you, and you hope you're smarter than him. It gives you an advantage in the field. But realistically, you're probably not significantly smarter enough than him to make a difference. And women say they want intelligence, but they don't. They never pick the intelligent one. They always want funny and handsome. Funny and handsome is more important than being Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, Neil, where's our Tyson spheres? Neil, where's our Tyson spheres? We should be contained in a ball when the sun goes nova. Neil! Anyway, that's not even everything that was wrong with them. If I was going to go into everything that was wrong with it, I'd have made some kind of long labor reference to a very popular thing you're not doing very well right now. Oh, yeah, of course. Everyone likes things they remember, so who wants a pizza roll? You remember the pizza roll thing, right? So now you're having fun. You want a pizza roll? Send me an email, and I'll send you a pizza roll in the mail. I'll put the pizza roll on a floppy disk, and send it to you if you're in the locations that I can do that to, or are willing. You remember this bit, right? You remember it? It's the thing you remember. So now you're gonna have a positive memory of it. That's why even bad movies have something cool near the end. So you remember it positively. It's also why most people think Mass Effect 3's only problem was the ending. But it's not. I don't know how to end this. I just not get these things off of me. There. I don't know how to end it. I have to finish soon because Shannon will get up. He'll make a bunch of noise.